We could have built the future together.
I don't think so.
Brothers in Arm, Orion Pax, and D16 become sworn enemies Optimus Prime and Megatron. Welcome back everyone to another movie review. Today we'll be talking about Transformers 1, and I gotta let you guys know before we start that I'm actually a pretty big diehard Transformers fan. Like, I grew up with these Transformer movies. I didn't really get to see all of them when I was a young kid, just growing up. But when I, recognized what they were, I was like, damn, these are kind of cool. I think the only ones that I saw in theaters were Age of Extinction, then The Last Knight, and then the new one, Rise of the Beast, last year. Age of Extinction and Last Knight I actually liked when they first came out. When I rewatch them, and I'm like, these are kind of rough, Michael Bay. What are you doing there? Rise of the Beast I actually liked a decent bit, but it's nothing great. And I remember watching on Netflix. If you guys watched that new that Transformers Prime show, that show was awesome. That show was peak, man. I really did love that show. So I want to get this out of the way and admit that I did not like the first trailer for this Transformers 1 film at all. I thought it was very childish and really dumb, but then the second trailer came out and I was like, man, this actually looks kind of good. Will we be surprised? And then the first reactions came out like a month ago. They just screened this film like so long ago, and the first reactions were kind of crazy. Everyone was saying that it was fantastic. I didn't believe them, but man, you guys gotta believe them and believe me when I say this. It is legendary. Like, oh my God, I'm so happy to admit it's actually great. Like, as a big diehard Transformers fan, I was walking into this, I was like, man, I'm gonna be disappointed. Another Last Night in our hands. Man, why couldn't have just made it a great Transformers animated movie? But man, I was wrong. I was wrong, man. I gotta say, I walked out of this, I'm like, can I just buy another ticket? But I saw it early, so I have to wait. And I'm here waiting like another week to watch it again. I'm like, oh my God, please let me watch this again, because it might actually be my favorite Transformers movie to date. We got to talk about that voice cast though, because that is what, I was worried about. That's what a lot of people are worried about, because Peter Cullen isn't voicing Optimus Prime, but now it's Chris Hemsworth came in and showed why he is the next best man for the job, because he was actually pretty great here, man. He really doesn't, he kind of sounds like Chris Hemsworth, but he does change his voice just a little bit, and it's kind of funny. Chris Hemsworth played a villain earlier this year in Furiosa, which he was great, and now he's playing like one of the most famous heroes in Optimus Prime, or in Pax as he's known. But I thought he did a great job here. He really showed why he could be the next Optimus Prime, because who knows how long Peter Cullen's gonna choose to voice him. Peter Cullen, though, he loves voicing him. Hopefully we never lose him, man. Peter Cullen is just great as Optimus. I don't even know what their plans are for Transformers at this time. Brian Tyree Henry played Megatron. I thought he was great, but every time I heard Brian Tyree Henry in like the first half of the movie when he is the nice version Megatron, I just heard Miles Morales' dad, because that is what he played in another animated movies, which is a Spider-Verse movie. I thought he was great though, especially when Megatron did turn evil in that second half. He turned very menacing. Brian Tyree Henry is one of the most underrated actors today. He's great. Scarlett Johansson as Alita, I think she might have been miscast just a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about Scarlett Johansson in animated movies. I feel like she didn't really change her voice, didn't put as much effort in as the rest of the cast, and she was in none of the promotional stuff for the movie. Like, if you watch any of the interviews, she's not in any of those. I mean, she is busy filming the new Jurassic World movie, but I mean, she could have put a little bit more effort to be in some of those main interviews. Keegan-Michael Key actually surprised me a lot, because he plays Bumblebee in this movie, and I thought he was just going to be so silly, and I think Bumblebee is very silly in the movie, but I didn't think his humor was going to land at all. But I think every one of his lines landed for me very well, and I love Keegan-Michael Key as a comedian. He does very well here. As I said, he plays Bumblebee, but he likes to be known as Badassatron. That joke is really funny when you see that, but I thought Keegan-Michael Key did a great job. He's so silly in this one. I love seeing Bumblebee because he's so much smaller than the other people in this team. John Hamm's also in this. Steve Buscemi's also in this. I really thought I heard Steve Buscemi's voice. I was like, is that Steve Buscemi? Then I looked at the cast when I was getting ready for the review, and I'm like, oh my God, they got Steve Buscemi for this. So overall, great voice cast. I also thought the animation was great. I was a little bit worried about the animation because it's a little bit different from what we're usually seeing now in this day and age, which is Spider-Verse animation only. Like, everyone's trying to copy that, but I like the animation here, and the transformations were really cool of the Autobots turning into the vehicles. And what's cool about them turning into the vehicles here and like the animated form, they were actually used so much better than in live action, because if you know, in the live action action movies, they just turn into vehicles to basically drive away and play Linkin Park while they drive away. But in this one, they use the vehicle transformations during the fight scenes, and it's very unique and interesting how they do it. So I really liked how they did that there. I do really wish though that this movie had a soundtrack like the Spider-Verse movies do, because you know the Spider-Verse movies, they have a huge soundtrack. Metro Boomin does most of them, and I wish this one had a soundtrack like that. It has a cool song in the end credits, but I wish this one had some more songs in the movie. It does start pretty slow, which is my main critique, but I am going to see it, of course, another time to see how that holds up. But it's just a little complaint because it starts slow and introduces you to these characters, which I think we can all agree on that we didn't need, because we already know these characters. I just don't think we need introductions to any of them at this point. But after you get like 15 to 20 minutes in, it gets rolling and it gets awesome all the way through. I will warn you guys, that third act will have you hype all around. Like, oh my god, there was like 3 different moments in the last fight in the third act where I just want to stand up and start clapping for the creators and directors of this movie because of what was unfolding on screen. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That's what I said like 3 different times. I'm not going to give away what happens, but just get ready for that third act. It gets insane. This one does have a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene, so stay for those. Mid-credit scene is kind of like a joke. Post-credit scene is kind of like a setup for a sequel, and they just announced that they do have plans for a sequel if this one does well at the box office. I hope it does, but the competition is tough, especially when next week The Wild Robot comes out, so you basically have 2 animated movies going against each other, cannibalizing each other. I don't know why they're doing it, but I do gotta say, see this one in theaters. I don't know what the plans are for the Transformers movies at this point, because they have the G.I. Joe one coming out, and who knows when, hopefully a sequel to this one. I would, if we were to pick between the 2, I would rather have a sequel to this one, because this one has no human characters. It's just the Transformers in the front and center main characters. I don't care about, you know, the human characters. That's what the Rise of the Beast movie, I thought that's what my main critique of that one was. Human characters don't need to be on screen, don't need to be transforming into a robot costume. Just have a Transformers film like this. And you know, I will say the Cybertron stuff was really cool, but I will say in the Bumblebee movie, I liked the realistic Cybertron a little bit better, but the animation worked really well here, so I just want a sequel to it so bad. Overall, Transformers 1 shocked me, and it has no right to be as good as it is. It lands all the humor, has nice dramatic moments, and the animation and coloring of this movie looks simply mind-blowing. Also, as I said, that third act was so damn cool. Please see this in theaters so I can have a sequel. Transformers 1, I'm gonna give a strong 8.5 out of 10. Crazy, right? That is a high score for this movie. It might end up my top 15 of the year, top 20 of the year. I cannot wait to go see this again. I think I'm gonna go see it at least 2 more times in theaters. It's very cool. Pacing was very great, especially after this first 15 minutes. But that's my review of Transformers 1. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. If you did enjoy the review, though, make sure you do leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.